Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In the last video, we learned what scope means and the difference between block and global scopes. In this video, we are going to complete the next few lessons on Codecademy. Scope pollution. As we write more code, it is important to keep track of the variable names we use. Sometimes we forget what we named a variable and use that same name in a different function for different operations. This will mess up the whole code and it will be hard to find out why you are not getting the correct output because there will be no syntax errors. This is called scope pollution. Let's come to this example. We have declared a variable num and given it the value of 50, and then a function is written called log num which redeclares the value of num and gives it a new value 100 and logs the value of num to the console. Next, we are going to call the log num function in this statement. That means num has been reassigned and given a new value of 100, and 100 will be printed to the console. Now in this statement, we are going to access the global num because this statement is written outside the log num function. But then since this function is called before this statement, num has already taken on a new value. That means this statement will print 100 to the console. So in this example, this num and this num are polluting each other's scopes. Let's come to the instructions now. Let's see what happens if we create a variable that overrides a global variable. Inside the callMyNightSky function, on the very first line of the function body, assign the variable stars to Sirius as such. So stars should be equal to Sirius. So I have to come inside callMyNightSky. In the first line, I just have to say stars is equal to Sirius. So let's take a moment and see what we're doing here. We have three variables: satellite, galaxy, and stars from the previous code in the previous video. So the stars variable is global and is given the value of North Star. But then in the callMyNightSky function, we are redeclaring the value of stars and giving it the value of Sirius. So that means when callMyNightSky function is called in this statement, it will return this string which says night sky along with the value of satellite, the value of stars, and the value of galaxy. So ideally it should print night sky, the moon, comma, the not star, Sirius, and then it should print galaxy, whose value is the Milky Way. Let's run and see what happens. The night sky, the moon, Sirius, and the Milky Way comes as expected. We can go to the next instruction. Outside the function, under the current console.log statement, add another console.log statement to log stars to the console. You'll notice that the global variable stars was reassigned to Sirius. In other words, we changed the value of the global stars variable, but it's not easy to read what exactly happened. This is bad practice in code maintainability and could impact our program in ways we do not intend. So this is what I mean by it is hard to debug because there are no syntax errors. So let's finish the instruction first. I just have to come here and say console.log stars. This is accessing the global stars variable after the callMyNightSky function is called in this statement. So ideally this statement also should print Sirius. Let's run and see what happens. Sirius has come to the console as expected. Before we go to the next challenge, let's just test something out. Let's see what happens if I put this console.log statement before this console.log statement. So now what happens is in this statement I'm going to access the global stars variable which has the value of North Star. It hasn't been reinitialized yet. So that means this statement should still print North Star, and then now when I'm calling the callMyNightSky function in this statement, stars will be reassigned and given a new value of Sirius. And this string, night sky, the moon, Sirius, and the Milky Way should come. So the output should be North Star, and to the next line, this string over here. Let's run and see what happens. The output which we had in mind has indeed come, and now we can go to the next challenge. Practice good scoping. Avoiding scope pollution is fairly easy. Redeclaring a variable with the same name in a different code block allows us to use the same variable name with two different values. Let's look at this example here. We have a function log sky color which declares a variable dusk using const and gives it the value of true, and then another variable color, and which is declared using let and is given the value of blue. So here we check if dusk is true. That means if dusk is true, we are again declaring a new variable color using let and giving it the value of pink. That means this color will exist only within the code block it is declared in. In other words, this color will be pink only within this code block. Because it is declared inside the if condition. So now when we console.log the color of pink, when we console.log color, it will print pink to the console. Now we come outside the if code block and we try and print color again. So now in this statement we are accessing this color over here. So this should print blue because in this code block we are again declaring, not redeclaring, we are declaring a new variable color and giving it the value of pink. And then now when we come outside the function itself and we come to this statement, we are going to try and log the value of color to the console. But then outside the function there is no other variable declared called color, and therefore the JavaScript will throw a reference error. So this is how we avoid scope pollution. But still, most coders would recommend using different variable names even in different scopes, because it is just good practice. So let's come to the instructions now. Inside the function body of log visible light waves, beneath the region variable and before the provided console.log statement, that means this area over here, create an if statement that checks if the region is the Arctic. So now I have to say if this variable region above it is equal to the Arctic. Has to be 3 equal to's here. And open a code block and click run. Let's see what happens. Moonlight comes to the console because of this statement over here. Light waves holds the value of moonlight, and we are still inside this function, and this function is called in line 11 over here. So therefore moonlight comes to the console. Let's go to the next instruction. Inside the if block, define the new let variable light waves and set it equal to northern lights. So now I'm defining a new variable, let, what's the variable name, light waves is equal to, and given the value of northern lights. Let's click run and see what happens. Moonlight still comes to the console, but we can go to the next instruction. Beneath a variable in the if block, use console.log to log the value of the block variable inside the if block. That means they want us to log the value of light waves to the console. So I have to come over here, still inside the if condition, and say console.log light waves. So now ideally this condition will return true because region is indeed the Arctic. Let's run and see what happens. Northern lights and moonlight comes. So now northern lights comes because the region is equal to the Arctic, therefore this condition is true, and light waves is reassigned to northern lights, and then light waves is printed to the console. And now we come outside the if block and console.log the value of light waves again. But now since we are outside the if block, this light waves value is taken into account, and therefore moonlight comes to the console. So yeah, and that completes this challenge. Now we can go to the next challenge. So with the previous challenge, we have come to the end of the scope lesson. But let's review some concepts which we have learned in the previous videos. Scope is the idea in programming that some variables are accessible or inaccessible from other parts of the program. So this means that scope is a concept which defines the accessibility of a given variable. So blocks are statements that exist within curly braces. For example, an if condition or a function or a loop, which we will learn later on. And then we have global scope, which refers to the context within which variables are accessible to every part of the program. So variables which have global scope are declared within a file, but outside all code blocks. Global variables are variables that exist within global scope. So that means all these variables which have this global scope are called global variables. So block scope refers to the concept with which variables that are accessible within which variables that are accessible only within the code block they are defined. So all the variables which are declared within any code block, for example an if condition or a function, are all said to have block scope. And local variables are the variables which have block scope. Global namespace is a space in our code that contains globally scoped information. And scope pollution is when too many variables exist in a namespace or variable names are reused. So guys, that was it for this video. If you enjoyed, please like, share and subscribe and stay tuned for more content. Thank you so much for watching.